Even in late summer, Cavaliers basketball still going on. Tony Camino there. I'm Andy Billman here. Tony Camino did an article about everything else but the Big Four, which is appropriate because we're starting to get closer. I mean, usually after Labor Day, you start hearing more and more Cav stuff, and then it really gets ramped up right before October. So it's about that time to start getting bathed back into Cavs a little bit because we are close enough where you're going to start to hear more. The roster still has not been filled out yet, so there's other things like that. So Tony, you chose everything but the Big Four. You know, you could talk about Strauss, obviously Levert. You could definitely talk about Niang. There's definitely a lot of energy and discussion about Okuro. So I'll let you begin. Out of those guys I just mentioned, out of those other guys other than the Big Four, which one intrigues you the most?
Intrigues me the most, I would say probably Okoro because we took him fifth overall, 3 years ago now,
Mm-hmm.
2020. So he's shown that he's a good player in some aspects. Basically, he's the guy that's good at everything except for the one thing that's going to keep him off the floor, and that's shooting. They just played 4-on-5 on defense against us in the playoffs. He has to, I know his percentages keep improving. I don't care if he's shooting 30% on three a game. He needs to take six to the point where the defense is going to guard him. It'll be interesting to see if he gets off to a slow start against shooting. Do they relegate him into like a specialist type of role where we're only going to throw you in here? And that would be really unfortunate for a fifth overall pick, but it might have to happen.
I'll be a little bit more biting. I think Okuro, I've seen enough, and I've supported him. I love
Yeah.
his story. I love his energy. I love his positivity. I like that on the team. I really do. The Cavs are a very positive team. They really do get along. For that to be said, Okuro can be a major liability on offense, as you mentioned. At times, he can feel very out of sorts, meaning he sticks out. Like sometimes it's 4-on-5, but you play around it. Like there's obviously moments where even a Ben Simmons is 4-on-5, but you can play around it. Okuro, it's just like it's like it just really sticks out. The other thing about Okuro to me, though, Tony, is I noticed last year for the first time there are even certain matchups where I thought defensively he couldn't do much. He is not a bigger guy. So there's even at times, too, where against bigger small forwards, he can't really do much. And he's not a guard. So I think Okuro's kind of, in my opinion, we've kind of seen enough. I hate to be harsh on a young man. I just don't see anything more here. I
Yeah.
was thrilled for him. He hit that shot in Brooklyn. I thought that was a great moment for him. And that's Tony. I mean, I don't have many other memories offensively for the guy.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's tough with him because I still think there could be some development in there. The problem is all of his weaknesses are kind of like brought out the most on this Cavs team, right? Because offensively in 2023, you can't really be playing basketball with more than one guy in your lineup who can't shoot. We have Evan Mobley, Jared Allen, and Isaac Okoro. The two big men, we can hide it because of how good they are defensively. Okoro, and then Okoro defensively, he is truly a defensive two.
Yes,
He's not supposed to
that's right.
guard. He's
That's right.
6'5". So playing him next to two very small undersized guards, I just think it's not a good situation for him
Yeah,
offensively and defensively.
that's my point. You hit it exactly. They have to put him in at three, and truthfully, he's
Right.
not a three. He should be playing at, like you said, a two. And even there's some twos now where I think it's troublesome. So I
Mm-hmm.
think we've seen enough. I hate to say it. I am the most intrigued by Strauss. I really want to see what this young man can bring. I want to see if he can carry over what he learned from Miami to Cleveland. We all assume that's an assumed thing. In sports, sometimes a free agent, that may not happen. So I'm intrigued to see what we get. I do believe in the young man. I think he'll play very well. The other guy's Niang. I think Niang's going to really fit well in Cleveland. His
Yeah.
spirit, his energy, I think he's going to fit in very, very well in this town. I think he's going to become a fan favorite very quickly. And I just am intrigued to see what he can do in big moments. So I think he'll play well in big spots for Cleveland. And Niang's showed a knack for that. I'm a big believer in Levert. I'll just hit on him in last. I really enjoy his play. I thought he got way too much social media backflap, and I didn't think it was needed. I am a Levert supporter. Where are you on this? I like Levert. I think he plays hard. I actually think defensively he's fine. Offensively, he actually moves the ball around statistically and analytically. It will show that. He actually does move the ball and keeps offenses moving. I
Mm-hmm.
like Levert. I do. I think he's a good player.
I think Levert has the chance to be kind of like a huge X factor for us this year
Yep.
because when we traded a first round pick for him, we were getting that 20 points per game score. And I hate people using the term, oh, this guy can't play without the ball because they use it too much. But
Yes.
Karis LeVert is really a guy who is not best suited to play off the ball. He's really good getting past guys, getting to his mid range, running the pick and roll. We kind of try to use him as a catch and shoot three, and he's okay at shooting the ball, but that's not his strength. So coming off the bench where he can have more of like a ball handler role, especially without Ricky Rubio, I think he can really thrive and get back to that Karis LeVert that we traded for.
Yep. He's a half-court offense guy, which is actually what the Cavs do.
Yes.
Cavs are not a speedy team, so he fits well within the offense too. I just think Karis LeVert gets way too much back flap. There has never been much discussion on this channel, so I guess we should do it now about JB. I'll lead off on this. Bickerstaff, to me, is doing a good job. I think this is a big year for him. Up to this point, I think it's fair to bring him back. He's done everything he needed to do. He got a big contract extension. This is a big season for him. He needs to lift the team up a little bit and get him past the first round of the NBA playoffs. That's a big task. Mm-hmm. That is a big task for JB. I think he's up to it. JB is a very old school coach. He is clearly defensive minded, which I don't mind. It's fine. I don't mind it. He's going to have to make some adjustments in certain points. He has a little bit of Francona in him. Well, he'll ride guys that he likes into the ground before they start falling apart. He definitely has a doghouse. That's also been shown here. But all that to be said, I do like him. The players seem to play for him. I don't think he's an elite coach, but I think he's decent. I think he does a good job.
I think the grade I'd give JB is like it's kind of incomplete because during the regular season he's been good. I mean, we've had a very big improvement over these last couple of years, and I don't think I didn't love what he did in the playoffs.
Yeah,
but it was his first time, and I don't know what else like the moves he was supposed to make. Like there weren't really adjustments for him to make. This year, like you said, is a big year because now he's got Niang, he's got Strus, he's got guys where he can change his lineup from going small, going big, going space the floor. He's got those options to do that didn't exist last year. So if we doesn't push the right buttons, then next year we might be talking, all right, I don't know if he's the answer.
If you want to pin game 1 and game 3 on JB, I can hear you. Game 1, he made some strange decisions. He put Dean Wade in certain spots that didn't make sense and whatever else. In game 3, the team didn't seem ready. They really had a hard time being prepared for a road game. But in the rest of those games, they won game 2 and 4 and 5. He could have pulled whatever strings he wanted to, and I don't think it would have mattered.
Right.
I do think JB's got to do a better job in game. I also think JB has got to do a better job. We're recognizing that certain things just don't work they thought would work. And I could tell he kind of fights himself on certain decisions that he makes. Like there's moments you could have pulled Osman more, and he's no longer in the club. There's other moments I think he saw him too much. Like he's got weird like that stuff. All that to be said, the team plays very hard for him. And in the NBA, that does say a lot. Mm-hmm. And the guy also has his players' ears, which is great. You don't hear players really barking about coaching or really looking checked out on the bench. The Cavs always look focused. So that to be said, I think he has done a nice job. I think he's actually developed several players nicely. I give him a lot of credit for Garland. I actually give him some credit too for Jared Allen. Now, Jared Allen's got some things to work on. But I think he's done nice in those two things. So that's why I'm saying, like, he's not an elite coach. I'm not naive. I think Francona is. I don't think JB Bickerstaff is. But I think he does a nice job. I think there's some things that are fair for the flack. I think there's other things that's way too harsh. And that any coach, the NBA is hard. It really is a players' league. So you have to manage those relationships well. So for a coach to be well liked by his players and to play really hard for him all the time, again, people are like, what does that mean? It's like, well, it's easy to do. I mean, you can a lot of these players, and for good reason, for metrics that show you they get longer careers, they take games off. The Cavs don't really do that. Usually it's pretty measured about how they go about things, which I like.
Yeah, definitely. I think this year, I wouldn't say he's an elite coach yet, and I don't think he's ever going to be an elite coach, but I would say last year, the roster just wasn't built to go very far. Right. Chetty played a lot. I think Chetty was our only guy who could kind of space the floor a little bit. He just couldn't defend Brunson, and we saw it over and over and over again. But this year, different story. We've got Strus is not a lockdown defender, but he's solid. Niang gives you a lot of versatility in your lineups, and then these last couple moves. This is the year for JB. This is the year. This is not the year for the Cavs, but it's a big year to just show development.
They are one of the rare teams. They are not going to fly. You're never going to hear flying Cavs. Just not going to happen on this team. This is half court baking. That's what they like to do, and that plays to their strength. They have two big guys who can really defend.
I think running a little more could help, though.
I don't disagree, and I will say late in games, you're going to see Mobley at the 5, and that will help there. That will help there tremendously because you can't have two big bodies like that running up and down the floor. No. So that will help, and they're going to need to do that more, and that will come into play. Something else to watch in this team was the final thought. They still need a point guard backup, figuring that Rubio's not going to play. I hope they find something soon. I know they have the young man from Golden State, but he's truly a 3. He's not really a point guard 2 natural backup, in my opinion. So hopefully the Cavs add someone there with some experience to give some help to Garland. Garland's not going to be able – they really don't have anybody else other than Garland as a point guard in his team. That does concern me a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, but in today, I feel like him and Donovan handle all the ball handling, and then Karras will do the rest off the bench. So as long as you can manage their minutes, it's going to be concerning when one of them or two of them is hurt. So that's where, I mean, John Wall, for whatever reason, was running with all the Cavs down in Miami, so I feel like he could be a name to keep an eye on. I don't think we need to add a guy who's going to play every night, but just because I think the main guys are going to be Donovan, Darius Garland, and Karras. Those are going to be the guys with the balls in their hand. But sometimes we see Karras is going to miss games. We're not going to have our stars play every game, so just to manage those games without them.
That's my point.
Yeah.
I feel a lot better. Or if Garland gets hurt. Like you need to have something. And here's where I would counterpoint with Tony just a little bit. Tony's right. Cavs are one of the few half-court teams. And if you're going to be a true half-court team, you need to have a backup of a point guard, which they have one. I think you just need a backup. That's just one man's opinion. But to Tony's point, maybe they'll speed it up. Maybe they'll get a little caffeinated Cavs in them to move a little faster. All right, so that's the Cavs for right now. Tony, is there anything else you're thinking about? I know you talked about P.J. Washington. I know you mentioned some other things throughout the summer. Is there anything right before we take the Labor Day malaise before we get into mid-September when the Cavs start ramping up?
Nothing really specific. Just I think we stack up really well with most teams in the East, and this is a team that should finish top 3 with if everything goes right. And I'm thinking second round right now, but you never know. If everything goes right, I could see fighting for a spot out of the East. I wouldn't put us up there with Boston and Milwaukee yet, but you never know. NBA season's long. A lot of things can happen.
BelieveInLand.com. Check out Tony's articles. There'll be a couple more as we get, like I said, usually it's around mid-September when the NBA season starts to ramp up a little bit. So there's a few more weeks in there, and Tony will have some more information there. Tony Camino, Andy Billman, signing off in the late summer, talking Cavs.
Yeah.